And I think what I want to make sure that we relay, or I relay anyway, some of the smartest, wisest people I've ever met were horrible students.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking like, listen, I've met people that I'm like, you're a freaking genius. They're like, yeah, school really wasn't my thing though. They were like a DC student and they're super successful. Why is that, Paul? Well, because they educated themselves. Like, some of them did a trade, some of them like, yo, I figured out this little knickknack, or I did this, or I created this. And when I talk to them, it's like they all had something that they were doing to teach themselves or to educate themselves, to step their game up. You must think we're so plenty. All right. Bless up, man.
Your new intro. Welcome,
Bruh.
everyone.
Yes. You guys are all getting all into the, like, see, this is what happens when you do, like, see, B and I are on the, we're working for you mugs, man. We're working for you mugs. And here, listen, if you're in the space, well, I better get this, B. Let's ask them a question. What have you learned recently? What have you learned? If you're somebody that's like, yo, I haven't learned shit recently, I want you to sit and listen to this pod. Sit your ass down, get a pad, and listen what we got to say here. B, first of all, before we get all into it, B, how you doing today, bro?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Yeah.
Good coaching call this morning. Learned something. You know, always about educating yourself. And everything is good, man. Everything is good. Now you gotta take that information and gotta apply it.
Yeah, listen.
The wise man once said, you know, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. So
bless up. Who's that man that said that, or person?
I don't remember. I don't know. Somebody
come on, man. Gotta know this story.
Who said it?
I have no idea.
Oh, you don't. Come on.
This is why we use Google. Man. It's a wrap. Yeah, bless up to our guy Sefi, man. Sefi, you know what? Bless up to you, man. Great call this morning. A lot of insight. And you know, it's actually, B, as I'm thinking about this is in alignment with what we're talking about today.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Educating yourself. How many people let me ask you, man, how many people do you think really educate themselves after they're done with school?
Man, it's actually funny. There's a statistic out there. 1/3 of high school graduates never read another book for the rest of their lives.
Bruh.
42% of college graduates never read a book after finishing college. And 80% of U.S. families, they say, did not buy a book or read a book in the last year.
Bruh.
Mm-hmm.
You know, dude.
Hey, but we all know what Kim Kardashian is doing. We all know, you know, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. We all know who won the next Survivor, or the last Survivor. You know, the important things in life.
All the important shit, bro. It's bananas. I'm fascinated by our culture that we fail to leverage all this information that we have at our fingertips. It blows my mind, man. And it's like,
we're more worried about what else is going on in other people's lives than bettering ourselves.
It's ridiculous.
Hey, everyone likes to sit down and watch a movie and watch some trash TV every once in a while, or read something that's, you know, fictitious, just to kind of get the creative juices flowing. But if you don't set time out to work on yourself, and you're complaining about where you are in these days and not making enough money and all this other stuff, or you're not happy, you have no one to blame but yourself. It's a hard truth to swallow, but if you have time to watch all that other crap and do things that don't make your life better, you know.
Yeah, dude. So we're talking about self-education today. And also, Dan, you know what? We forgot, we failed to ask all these questions. we failed to welcome the people to the It's Black or White Health podcast. Damn, man. Well, welcome. And this is the first time seeing us. Welcome to this. Welcome to the show. Right. This is how we do. He's your boy Paul, your boy Brian. We're chopping it up. Sometimes we get so carried away in the topic, man, we forget to introduce ourselves and what the hell you all are watching. So now you know. And let's be.
It's a circus, man. It's a circus.
It's a circus here. God damn it. That's how we do. I think it's important to note, like when we're talking about self-education, there's different types of self-education. Because speaking from my own experience, I really never took on self-education. I just was like, I have been one of those people. It's just like, man, I'm not reading any more books. I'm tired of reading. This is bull crap, boo. And I think it's important that once I started to get into that mode, I recognized that learning was more than just books. Learning was mentorships. Learning was job experiences. Learning was a lot of different things. So today in the podcast, we want to dissect some of these things and talk to, expand on some of the types of self-education that you could do, why, the reasons it's important, and some of the gifts and gems that come from educating yourself. And also some of I want to make sure that we cover in here the importance of being free of becoming like a self-education junkie. Okay. I'll explain what that means in a little bit, but
seen a lot of those people, and honestly, I was a lot like that too. Not growing up. I mean, I was a shit show my first 2 decades of my life, 2.5 decades of my life. But that's we'll get into that topic. I'll share a little story.
Well, listen, let's share it now, man. How did you get into self-education, bro?
How did I get into self-education? So it wasn't until I was probably about 27, 28. And, I've told this story before, how I went away to a fitness seminar, and I was already a trainer for about maybe years at this point. I've been training since I was 19 years old. And a colleague of mine, he's like, hey, let's go to this fitness seminar. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 8 years. I mean, like, I know everything there is to know about, fitness and health and the human body and all this other stuff. That was my mindset. And by the time the end of the conference finished, I realized that I've hurt more people than I helped. So I went up to, and it's interesting, I went up to all the presenters. It was 4 presenters at this conference. It was called Perform Better. It was up in Boston.
Oh, Perform Better workshop. Oh,
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. If you've been in the industry a while, Perform Better is.
Perform Better,
I went up to these guys, and all of them said the same thing. There was a common denominator. I'm like, because I went up to them, I was like, hey, how do I get on your level? Like, I'm blown away. This is what I want to do. I was like inspired for like the first time in my life. So they're all like, hey, listen, whatever you do not go to school. Do not get formal education for this. It's not going to help you in the long run. Find the best people in the world at what they do and study under them. Boom, I was hooked. And I was thinking about the other day, I've probably done over 100, 120 courses probably in the last like 15 years. I was doing almost a course every like 6 weeks. It felt like, whether it be an online course or traveling. I was like, dude, I was like a self-educated junkie. Like I was just like taking all these courses, and I amassed a lot of information, which one of the reasons I want to kind of start this YouTube channel so I can give all this information out that I've learned over the last almost 2 decades now of self-education, 3 decades now self-education. But it was like at one point it was like almost like too much. I was learning something on a plane, the next one, getting on the plane, next one. I had all this information around me, but I didn't have time to apply to anybody or apply to myself because I was so busy. So it's like, people have all these like acronyms next to their names, but I'm like, oh, what'd you learn in that? What'd you learn in this? What'd you learn in that course? And they'll be there for like a week taking this course, and they can only tell me like 2 or 3 things that they learned out of this whole course. So it's just like almost like information overload. And one of the things,
Yep.
like again, I've probably taken over 100 and something courses in my life, but there's probably like 3 or 4 modalities that I use with my clients out of all those courses. Some of them are just like, like a lot of
Mm.
fluff. So too much
Mm.
self-education might not always be the best if you're not applying it.
Well,
If that makes sense.
yeah, it definitely makes sense, man, because I think that's where I, as you're talking, I can relate to everything you're saying, man, because I went through that phase of, oh, junk. Like I knew a certain, I thought I had a certain knowledge, which I did. Then like learning more stuff, I'm like, oh, this knowledge almost didn't mean anything. Then learning more, I'm like, oh my God, this knowledge didn't mean anything. And I found
Mhm.
myself like whatever I was learning, I was like all into it. And then like I'll be like, I'm gonna learn something else.
Yeah.
And I think this is important, right? Because we're looking at two different ends of the spectrum. We started off looking at the people that really don't educate themselves at all, and then we go into the people that educate themselves all the damn self-educate themselves all the
Mhm.
damn time. There is a balance, people, right? And that's important
Yeah.
to note. B, one of the things you said, which I think what is interesting, is you they said find the best people in the world and then learn from them. And I think that's really important. I think I want to touch on, like, from self-education, the importance of having a mentor. Um, and listen, the mentor can be someone in a book. Like, we're gonna have a topic on autobiography. I thought it was today. That's so another topic for the next episode.
Mhm.
But like I think it's like, even looking at mentors, people that have do things, they're doing things that you want to do, I think is a way to make your education more appealing, because it's far from being static. That's one of the things I loved about the Perform Better workshops, is that a lot of times you had these professionals throughout, like a lot of times it was in the Northeast, right? Or they bring other people in, but you'd have these people that had the knowledge and wisdom, and then you get to apply it, which I think is very important when we're talking about self-education. It's extremely important that, okay, I'm going to learn something, then what's the way that I can integrate it into what I already know? All right.
Yes.
It's very important, because otherwise, and it's something I'm just speaking from experience. And B,
Mhm.
I don't know if you had this experience too, but there came a point where with everything I knew, it was like almost like analysis paralysis, until I figured out how all of them are one. Like
I
how,
was about
like
to say
from
that.
me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. How,
And
what was
then
that? Yeah.
it's so funny. Yeah, yeah, I was about to say that, like, it's analysis by paralysis, like it's or paralysis by analysis. So
One of
it's
the two.
like you get all this information. Then it's funny that I'm talking to a lot of people. Like I go to way to these seminars, and they're like, "Oh, I have this degree, I've disagreed this and this and this, and I've taken this course, this course." So I'm like, "Wow, man, it's like that's awesome. Like, I'd love to get there. What do you do right now?" "Oh, it's not really working right now. It's really hard to find something, and like I'm not really making too much money. I had to borrow money to get to this course." I'm like, in my back of my mind, I'm like, so yeah, all this information, but it's not benefiting you anyway, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And by no
Mm-hmm.
means I'm
Yeah.
saying never stop self-educating yourself. I mean, that's the
Mm-hmm.
most important thing you can do for yourself, is always educate yourself. But it comes to a time where
Yeah.
it's like, educate yourself, apply it. Once the application
Mm-hmm.
is in process and you start seeing good results, you're gonna probably, in life you're always gonna it's hills and valleys. Then you're gonna hit a hill, and you be like, all right, how do I work around this? What are some
Yeah.
people in my industry that have worked around this? Or how do I
Yeah.
find these
Yeah.
people? How do I find these new mentors? Then you find them, and then you kind of go off, and then you build on that, and you go into the next thing. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like,
man.
yeah, too much is not too good. I had a terrible habit of ordering 10 books and never finishing any of them. They'd be like, "Let me get my 11th book," and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
No,
So
right
sometimes, like,
here.
yeah, yeah.
Jesus,
So I
dude.
made a point where I have no more than 2 books, and once I'm finished with one, I'll get another one. So I always try to have one on like self development and one on something more, concrete. Like maybe I'm learning about vibrational medicine, or I'm learning about, biogeometry or whatever it is. But I always have
Whatever
one
it
that
is,
like
man.
some kind of spiritual kind of self-help to kind of keep me in line and keep me on the same path, you know?
It's a beautiful. That's I like that strategy, man, because it's like your education goes on two paths. Something when you were talking, something that came up for me that I was like, okay, I want to discuss this, and then realizing that it was something you had in your notes too. Uh, the education system.
Mm,
When you were just talking about where people would get something like have a book and then they move on to the next thing. What was coming up for me is how the ways in which that we're trained to study and learn,
mm,
right? So and it's like I always found it fascinating with especially going to back to schools and hearing how teachers do things. And I'm very fond of the teachers. I can't believe I just said I'm very fond of. Wow. But anyway,
mhm.
I'm very fond of the teachers that have some sort of application process. Because when I think about it, I think education is like, okay, guys, here's a lesson plan. Okay, here's a quiz. We're moving on to the next one. Okay, here's a lesson plan. Here's a quiz. Moving on to the next one. And it's like this block. Now we have this block of education. We're going to steamroll through this. You're going to take a test. If you fail, sucks for you. We're going to move on to the next one. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hang
and I
on
was
tight.
telling,
Yeah.
hang on tight. Like, so one
Yeah.
a funny story, right? So I was talking to my oldest, my son about his grades, and he had a great report card. It was all A's and B's. He had a B minus, and he had a C. So I'm like, hey, dude, what's going on? Like, and my biggest thing for him is I don't I told him I care about the effort because the effort is going to mean more to you in life than the grade. Okay. I
Mhm.
give a shit if you're not trying and you get a C, well then it's your average. Like you can if you're trying, you're gonna get an A in this class. If you're trying and you still get a C, yo, bro, I'm good with the C. You're giving it an effort, man. You're learning, you're putting in the effort. So anyway, so I think it's interesting because like I tell him, like, yo, maybe you got to go talk to the teacher and learn and see like where you can get better, like what's something you may not understand. And I think that's a part that is not really readily available in the school system. Kids got to be able to go after it, right? Which I think is a key piece in the self-education. If there's something I don't know, I got to take the initiative to go and learn that piece. Otherwise, like, I can't complain for shit,
Yeah.
you know.
I agree, man. I agree.
It's fascinating, bro. It's wild.
You know, and it
The,
teaches
what,
like a
yeah.
lot of kids are like, I hear these parents like, oh, the my kid doesn't like the teacher. I'm like, or the teacher's really bad, or the teacher's really mean. I'm like, and it's another part of like growing up. It's like, well, what did your kid say to the teacher? Oh, he didn't say anything. So what do you do? He came home and complained to you, and he's like, and then you had to go in there and say something. What are you teaching your kid? Like my kid
Right.
grows up and he's like, hey, I don't like the way my teacher's doing something. You know what? Have an adult conversation with your instead of running to mommy and daddy. It's one thing you vent, but like,
Right.
come to me if you have issues. But I'm going to tell you, go to your teacher, talk to him, start having a communication, start building a relationship. They're going to respect you more. You're going to have more confidence because the reality is, if you keep going after mommy and daddy, what's going to happen when you get into the real world and you get a job and your boss, you don't like your boss? You're going to call your mom and dad to come in and talk to your boss? You ain't going to have a job too long.
Bruh.
As a direct
Bruh.
carryover. A lot of these parents out there, man, they like to coddle their kids and always be biased towards their kids, like, oh, my son's always right, or my daughter's perfect, and blah blah blah. It has to be the teacher. That's why they're failing. No, man. Like, I'm not saying there's not bad teachers out there, just like any profession, but teach your kid to take responsibility, step up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Listen. And this comes back to it being a life skill. Okay. Step up. Like go get what you want, right? Or go get into the crevice. I think this is a piece of self-education, right? Especially in this day and age. Why I like, and it's really starting to really come up in me why I'm appreciating us talking about this topic is because people will allow someone else to educate them. And most of the time, the people that are educating you want to educate you into a certain way of being. Okay, so now all of a sudden, like, okay, like, yo, if you look at education system, they train you to take a test. Okay, it's not life. Life in itself is a freaking whole test, and you don't know what the test is going to give you. So it's
Yeah.
important that we start looking at, well, damn, like, what are the things? What are the things to learn? And I think this is also important. What are the things you want to learn? Because now, I mean, look at all the resources that are out there right now, bro. Like, first of all, the old tried and true. You got your library, YouTube, social media. Like, I hear people go, like, yeah, I learned this on TikTok. What? Bro, you better get your nuts. That's about to get banned, son. But like, there's so much stuff, bro. There's so many places to learn. What's your thoughts?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the source of self-education? Like the sources. Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, where do I find my self-education? Or
Well, yeah. I'm interested to know where you find yours. But what, like, for the people watching, what do you suggest are true or valid? I guess that's subjective, but let's say for you, true sources to get self-education, man.
Well, I try to find people in the field that I'm looking for that have had proven results with other people.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So what, and like people that are coming back to them, people that are like, I mean, you can tell if somebody's authentic or not, you know? So I look for, again, people that have actually had results, you know, like good results. And then maybe they're following, how many people are following them through how many, you know, views, especially like on YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube videos on people. And if I find these people are awesome, what I'll do is I'll look under, you know, their website, and I'll look for like courses that they're taking, things that'll kind of strike me, right, like just like kind of spark an interest, and I'll kind of go down that path. But it's like yeah, the YouTube, I'll look under, like, you know, right now I'm trying to study like vibration. I'm trying to study biogeometry, things like what the universe is made of. I'm always have a quantum physics, you know, so I'll look into, like, you know, Dr. Joseph Dispenza. I'll look into, you know, Greg Braden. I'll look into Dr. Robert Gilbert. He's in biogeometry. And I'll just kind of go down that rabbit hole, and I'll learn from people. I'm looking into some cymatics right now, the vibration with music and sound and everything. So I try to find basically sources on that, and I listen to them and get some information. I look at their recommendations. Oh, check out this person, because smart people always recommend smart people.
Ain't that the truth, bro?
You know, and I'll kind of go down that path. I'll look at somebody who has a little experience in there, you know, not to be, you know, discriminatory, but like, I don't want to really hear life advice from a teenage kid, you know, or somebody that's still in school teaching me about, you know, again, life advice and life hacks, you know, they just don't know. You know, if I want to go to them and get a higher SEO, you know, for YouTube, yeah, maybe I'll go to them, because kids are probably smarter than most of us at our age.
Oh, they're on a new level.
Yeah.
They're on a new level. Yeah, dude, I think thank you for that, man. And the reason why I'm asking that question is because there's a lot of info out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information out there, people. Like, listen, if you go to YouTube, you can type in, hey, I want to, like, I'll give you a perfect example. I was looking up stuff on, like, right now I'm learning about paternity fraud and law and family law, blah, blah, blah. And, like, you know, bless up to Google. I mean, like, it gives me a lot of results, and best up to YouTube. I'm watching videos and lawyers and stuff. But I also recognize, like, it was so much that I was like, whoa, I have to refine what it is that I'm looking for. And then that helped me to whittle down, like, okay, I found a source. Now, the thing is that what I like what you said, Brian, is like finding someone that has been there or that has done what you want to do. And also looking at their results, man. Like, listen, that's one of the reasons I love Napoleon Hill, because I'm like, yo, this dude, he created something special. Is it Robert Kiyosaki? Yes, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Love my man. right?
I love
Doctor
him, man.
Yo, dude, that's the dude, bro. He's
Yeah.
listen. That's a dude I would love to hang out with. I'm putting it out there, universe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call. By the way, I heard this term called Gus, God, Universe, Spirit. I'm like, I'm using that
Yeah.
anyway. I think I bring this up because it's really important that as we're educating ourselves, we choose a source that we're aligned to. So that could be in spirit, that could be in like what you want to learn, that can be in what you see in them, a recommendation. Because listen, a lot of people that are out there teaching don't know shit.
Hmm.
But you didn't hear that here. I mean, I actually just did. But I just think
Yeah.
it's important for us to recognize like those big things. And Brian, like I was when I was looking at the notes that you sent, man, you talked about the fact that now people learning or even like education was a big thing for me growing up, right? It was like
Hmm.
I got my degree and I took like 2 years off because in my
Hmm.
during that time my family was like, "You're a freaking idiot! What are you doing?" Because education was so important and to have a degree was so important.
Yeah.
Now, though, what do you see as that landscape in regards to education and the degree? Like, what's your thoughts on that part of education, man?
Yeah. I mean, it's big. I mean, like, I mean, I think it's important to talk about. So, like, a little bit of background story for me. Like, like I grew up. I didn't really have too much of a structure as far as like school goes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, my parents they split when I was younger. My dad basically left us, and my mom used to work night shifts. She would leave literally 7 days a week. One of the hardest working people I've ever met. She worked over 100 hours a week for almost 2 decades. And I'm
Mm.
not even kidding when I say 100 hours a week. She would work every day. She would go in and work at night at 9 o'clock, and she would come home at 12 o'clock the next afternoon. And then when she would come home, that's her chance to kind of sleep and catch up. So
Yep.
we didn't spend too much time. I mean, she showed us a lot of love, and she gave us the best upbringing as we possibly could. And I always took her hard work, and that's what kind of makes me. That's the biggest piece I took from her is how hard she was working, how loving she can be during the stressful times.
Mm-hmm.
But when she wasn't there in the morning and my alarm clock would go off, I'd be like, why the fuck am I going to go to school if I can just play John Madden football or hang out with my buddies and cut school and go play basketball? So
Yes.
I had no desire as far as structure goes to go to school and learn what an isosceles triangle was or what the hell the battle at Water Buffalo or what the fuck it was, whatever that one. Like I had no desire to learn this stuff. It didn't interest me.
Ah,
And
that's
it's
great.
crazy because like so I my class rank was literally like 250 something out of 260 people. So I went through school and I didn't learn anything. Like I barely passed. Like I mean, when I found out I got like a D minus, I was like, yes, all right, don't gotta take this shit next year. Like I just did enough just to get by.
I got
So
by.
like the kind of thing of like that's a little bit of my background, and but I think we all like as far as like formal education goes, I think there's a lot of holes in this system. We all grew up being told that education is the key to success, but rarely do we ever talk about like what type of education leads to the most success. And that's where this kind of self-education comes into. But we only
Mm-hmm.
talk about formal education, go to
Yeah.
school, get good grades, get a degree if you want to be successful. Not bad advice as this should be like the first thing you do, but definitely it's not the most important thing to do. So like the first stage of like, formal education when you go to school is basic skills, reading, writing, math. Then after that, it's like your next stage is like, socialization and knowledge. By your early teens, you have all the basic tools that you need to do to kind of basically survive in life. Your basic
Mm-hmm.
skills are done. Then the next
Mm-hmm.
stage is basically like a competition to see who can do the best at a particular course or who can remember the most facts, you know? So there's a good book out there, a book I finished reading, one of the few at that time. It's called Zero to One. I forgot who the
Gotcha.
author was, but he describes this next stage I was talking about after your basic learning and basic skills is a stage as a tournament. And in this tournament, it's designed more on competition. So, but it's not designed how to make people successful. It's all about competition. In this type of structure, grades are used as measurements to see how each student is competing compared to others. So people who don't succeed in this, it makes them feel inferior. And the problem with this is the skills required to succeed in this tournament are not the skills you need to succeed in life. So the reason I'm telling this story is growing up, like even though I know I didn't put barely any effort into school, I
Yeah.
was always looked down upon by, I feel like, my peers or my maybe family or whatever, and my teachers. They always I felt like I was always like stupid. I didn't feel good. And that's just like, that was part of my formal education. I was like, I just felt like I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. And you kind of go through life and you're like, all right. And I know I didn't want to go to school. Like I took 2 years off too out of school.
Yeah.
I was managing a Domino's Pizza at the time. And after high school, my boss is like, "Yo, I'll give you $500 cash a week." This is going back 25, 30 years ago almost, to run a Domino's Pizza. $500 for an 18-year-old kid that was broke. I was like, shit, I'll take that.
I'll take that, man. Yeah.
So after a while, after 2 years, I was like, oh, I want more out of my life. So let me go back to, I didn't know any other way. So I was like, oh, let me go back to college because that's the only way I'm going to be successful and happy. And I went to Raritan Valley, went to a 2-year school for 5 years, didn't get any degree out of it. Like the only thing I learned about college was I should have never went to college. that was the only thing I learned from it. It didn't do it for me. And at that point, after getting out of there and kind of flunking through that shit, I was like, I guess I'm just going to have to work, 60, 70 hours a week for the rest of my life and just grind it out and make other people rich around me, in order to live a successful life. That was my mindset,
Yeah.
So,
no, I brother, I can relate to everything you said, man.
yeah.
Because I like looking back at college, my education was for me at the time, like learning to balance and use my time effectively. Because I was going to school full time, I was working full time. I had I don't know if I had a life. I guess I did. I mean, I was having some fun, but like that's what it taught me, man. And excuse me, I took public administration when I went to college, and I mean, I'm not in government. Like I speak in public, but it's not public administration and creating policy and shit.
Yeah.
And I think what I want to make sure that we relay, or I relay anyway, some of the smartest, wisest people I've ever met were horrible students.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like, listen, I've met people that I'm like, you're a freaking genius. They're like, yeah, school really wasn't my thing though. They were like a DC student and they're super successful. Why is that, Paul?
Yeah.
Well, because they educated themselves. Like some of them did a trade, some of them like, I figured out this little knickknack, or I did this, or I created this, and when I talk to them, it's like they all had something that they were doing to teach themselves or to educate themselves, to step their game up. Like, I like, a friend of mine, he does actually like this what I have right here, Mars, my man Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I'm going to make hoodies. So what did he do? He started researching fabrics. He started researching distributions. This is what we're talking about with self-education. Brian, you're a perfect example of this too, man. Like, whenever there's something like, I'm going to research and look into that. Like, even with the show, Brian is a researcher. I like to research. We both go down rabbit holes. One of the things I notice about you, Brian, is like, you'll be like, let me just check out about this SEO thing. Let me just read up on this, right? Mm-hmm. And it's probably no coincidence that I said CEO. Like I noticed also in your notes, being it's something that I think is important. A lot of the CEOs that are of these big companies, they read a lot.
They have to.
Well, hold up, B. So do they have to? Like, tell me what you mean by that, man. Because I don't
I
think they
think
have to. I just it's something's
I
up.
think I think I wouldn't say they have to as far as like, the guns to their head and they have to.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes them a good CEO is they're thirsty for the knowledge. Then they have those
Mhm.
impulses to learn more. So
Yeah.
therefore they have to. That's like their
Yeah.
oxygen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I love to read. I have to read. Like that's like if I don't read or if I'm not learning something new almost every day, like I just feel like my day's a waste. So
Yeah.
an average
Yeah.
like CEO, I think it reads like, or an average person, maybe if they're lucky, they read 5 books a year, if that. An average CEO
Mm.
reads like 5 books a month. And people are
Yeah.
like, oh, how are you running a whole business and being able to do that? Because they prioritize it. They'll wake up early, they'll do it. Lunch breaks, they'll be reading. They'll listen to podcasts. They'll go to bed. Before they go to bed, they'll read because they know that's important. And the world is
Yeah,
always
bro.
changing. Like you have to be on top of your game. And that's another thing too, like with as far as formal education goes. And I don't want to say it's slowly dying out, but I do want to say that most people are like, I think a lot of people think it's a little bit of a little bit of a scam now. And
What's
what I
that?
mean
What do you
by
mean?
that, like
What
what I mean by
education?
that is like people are realizing that people are finally waking up a little bit. I'm not listen. First of all, and first and foremost, I'm not saying school is a waste of time. I'm saying
Right.
if you're going to school to become a doctor or you're going to school to become a an astronaut or a mathematician, like you have to go to school for certain things. But if
Right.
you're going to school just for the sake of going to school and just like because everyone else is doing it, it's you got to understand that school is a business. you know
Yes. Yes,
you
man.
can
Yes.
there's something wrong to be said where as an 18-year-old you can't walk into a bank and get a small business loan for $10,000, but as an 18-year-old you can put yourself in the $250,000 worth of debt by going to school because it's
Big old hole.
yeah,
Yep.
it's a business, and they don't give a shit what happens to you after your career. They just want that money up front. And kind of like so going back, like I remember like parents. This is like it's an old school mentality. Parents used to, and I'm sure they still do, say, "Hey, get a good education. When you get a good education, you're going to have a good job and you have a good career and you're going to be happy." I mean, you can't blame them for that really because that's what they were taught growing up and that's what their parents were doing. But times are different. We have reached a point, especially in like technological progression where it's
Yeah.
accelerating so quickly that the jobs you were training for, the jobs that people are training for, by the time you're done with the training, it doesn't exist anymore. And we also know like
Yep.
how many people do you know went to school for like a degree? I'm like, and then they 10 years later they're doing something totally different. It has nothing to do with their degree. I think a degree is good for the point of getting an interview. After that,
Yeah.
the company doesn't give a shit if you went to Harvard. They're not gonna be like looking at doing a review on you, Paul, and be like, you know what, his numbers are really down the last like quarter, or hey, he hasn't really been forming. He's showing up late to work. He's not doing his calls. He's not communicating with our clients well. But you know what? He went to Harvard. We're just going to keep him on. They don't give a shit. The only thing they
Yeah.
care about is the bottom line and how you make them grow. And
Yes,
I read a
man.
there was a guy, I forgot the guy's name. He was a CEO of a company. And he's like, there's three things that formal education won't teach you that you need to succeed in the world. They don't teach you how to be successful. They don't teach you how to make money, and they don't teach you how to build relationships.
I
And they
remember
don't
you.
teach you how to
Yep.
be happy. And they don't teach you how
Yep.
to be happy. And those are the things that they don't teach you. You know, and also in addition to this, as far as formal education goes, a much higher proportion of people are having access now to education, meaning the value in the marketplace has been massively diluted. Now, having a degree is now no guarantee of even having a good job, even if you do get
True,
one.
bro.
The old job
True.
security has been totally removed, and that's why self education is more important now than ever. You know, so like Jim Rohn had this great, he was a motivational speaker, had this great quote, says, education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. Because this is, so the reason this is, in my opinion, is because formal education will make you above average at most, because you are learning exactly what most people are learning. To be exceptional, you need to learn and start thinking for yourself.
Can you run that back? Say that one more time. To be exceptional.
To be exceptional, you need to learn things for yourself.
Brother.
You have to go down a different path.
So I want to add wisdom to what you just said there, because I think it's important for people to have their niche, like something that they can really dive into. And at the same time, to really, what I found is, if I'm going through formal education, the formal education is like, okay, like I mentioned before, moving people through. We talked about that. Like, all right, here's your degree. Now go out there and be somebody. But they're, like you said, they're not teaching you the basics.
Mm-hmm.
I want people that are watching, listening, begin, if you're in the formal education, right, and you're in college, you're like, well, what are the guys? I'm in the degree. Cool. Study your shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So while you're in class and like, okay, you're learning all this stuff, study the material, integrate the material. How does that apply? If it's something that you really care about, start looking at how you can integrate the knowledge that you're learning. This in itself, my peoples, is also a form of self-education, because you're taking whatever information, whatever data that they're giving you, and now you're applying it to different scenarios. It's like one of the things, like, so I do these facilitator trainings, right? So I can help men go and lead circles and shit. And one of the guys was like, I want to be a master facilitator. I'm like, all right, great. Okay, like, what the heck does, first of all, what does that mean? And second of all, like, listen, dude, well, whatever material I give you, it's great, but it doesn't really mean shit in your plans unless you're going out there and you're facilitating. You're putting yourself in different scenarios, because that's part of the education. Yeah. The integration is falling on your face with that knowledge. Okay, this part of the knowledge failed to work. What part of this knowledge can I apply to overcome this situation? I think that's the key that in our society, and like, Earl Nightingale said it best. What do you say? The world's greatest one of the world's greatest secrets is that people fail to think. They fail to think, bro. That's what I love about when you were talking about the CEOs. They do have to read, because they're leading companies. And I think being able to integrate and self-educate and learn from different people, your mind will expand. There's going to be a solution to someone's experience that will help a person, or help you in your experience. That, oh, you know what? I remember reading about that. One of the other things too, people, about the self-education is that it helps you understand that you're never alone in your scenario. Like, people have written books on, go out there, put it in Amazon, type in a topic, type in something you're having problems with, type it in Amazon, and look what comes up. Grab a book, see what happened. And this brings to mind, B, have you ever heard of this this thing that Napoleon Hill talked about, the invisible counselors technique?
Yeah, I like that, where he has a bunch of like famous people like around him. There's actually
exactly,
that reminds me of this. I forgot what his guy's name is. He owns a company called Value Entertainment. Oh, you gotta look him up. Value Entertainment. I forgot the guy's name. Bet Davis. No, Bet Davis, or I forgot his name. I have his book back there, but he has a cool painting in his office where it's him and his counsel all around him, of famous people. And it's so awesome. David, I forgot his name.
Patrick
Bet David. Patrick Bet David, I think it is.
Patrick.
But he owns Value Entertainment. He's awesome.
Oh, Bet David. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but yes, brother. All right, so people, okay, I'm getting excited. So people,
Yeah.
I want to just pause and explain like what Brian and I are talking about. So Napoleon Hill, and it's very much in line with this self-education piece. Napoleon Hill had this concept of whenever you're looking for information or you're looking to up level or you're looking for a problem to a solution, he said that draw in the energy of those living or those that have passed to get the wisdom. So he called the invisible counselors technique. So I could sit here and just be in my meditation and visualize like, yo, MLK, Bob Marley, Nikola Tesla. Bro, good to see you, man. I like your mustache. Haile Selassie, like Queen Nanny. So here's the situation. Go in, like, and just sit with it and get the information, get the knowledge. He really did believe, and I'm telling you, this works. If you don't want to do it in meditation, you could do it through books. You can do it through books, people. Damn.
Yeah.
This is what it is. Like, and this is so powerful. This is what I love about the self-education, because you can learn anything. You can learn anything, and you'll be in a completely different spot. The choice is yours. If you're in a spot where you are right now and you're like, I can't stand this shit. Well, you can freaking, Brian, you said it before, but you can change the trajectory of a piece. Come on, man. Shit.
Definitely. Hey, look up Patrick Bet-David painting of his Council of People and share this. I got to show you this thing for all the listeners at home. This is really cool.
Oh, wait. So there's a couple of them.
Yeah, they're all basically kind of like the same, right? Patrick
I like this guy, dude. I like this guy.
He's a good dude.
Oh, bro, he's got some. Oh, okay, guys. Yeah, okay. Me. I'm sharing this piece. Great call. So, people, this is what Brian was talking about here.
Yeah. Right? So in his book, he
I guess
told about each
them, right?
one. Yeah, like you would have each one of these people that he has in there. You see Einstein, you have Martin Luther King over there. Mm-hmm. I would have to look more into it. You got Patrick Bet-David in the blue suit up on top, right? I think that's him.
Yep.
So basically, he's drawn in energy, Lincoln, obviously, and he's drawn in energy from each one of the people at his council that a skill or an attribute either he doesn't have or he admires to try to figure out problems. So it's really it's fascinating. You got Marcus Aurelius and the thing in the background and the statues, but he actually had somebody paint this and it's in his office. I thought this was awesome.
Yeah, I love that. I freaking love that, bro. Listen, cool. That's the potency of it. I mean, because dude, I gotta tell you, man, there's been some times. Actually, there's been a lot of times I've read books and it's like, I'm like, oh my God, like I feel like I know this person. Like I'm trying to think, there's a book by this woman, Debbie Ford. It was book. I'm trying to remember the damn, what was the name of her book? Either way, she had a book, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, right? And I remember reading that book and I would be like, yo, it's like she's speaking to me right now. And I'm like, dude.
The book was meant for you, man.
It was, man. It definitely was, B. Like, I remember reading it. I was just like, dude, she's speaking to me. And unfortunately, I think she's passed. Yeah, she passed. But dude, this is the beauty of it, man. So let's start to transition and start to wind it down, man. For people that are listening to us, we dropped a lot of information. First of all, about the importance of self-education, our education system, how we're usually designed, and what you can start to do to really step into self-education. With all that being said that we said today, like, is there what's something that you would leave people with? Whether it's a thought or suggestion in regards to their own self-education, bro.
Yeah, I think we are so undereducated as a society, And I don't look at formal education as education, really. Very few, because it doesn't have a direct correlation to success in your everyday life. And very few subjects do. Like, again, if you're you want to be a quantum physicist, you got to go to school. You want to be a doctor, you got to go to school. Where for the vast majority of us, formal education does not have a direct carryover. In my opinion, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Some people, say college is the best thing that ever happened to them. Not for me.
Yeah.
So what I'm basically, my point is that our world is so our country is so undereducated. We can remember a lot of facts, but we're not intelligent. I think the best way we can you can build upon yourself or put space between you and the competition or do better at your work is by doing self-education, because no one is doing it. No one is taking time out to educate themselves. Look at the statistics that I told you before in the beginning of the seminar. 1/3 of the people after high school, they never read a book. 44% of people after college, they never read a book. I think 80% of people, 80% of families, they haven't read a book in the last year. So no one's educating themselves. So while no one's educating themselves, this should motivate you. Like, read a book a month, and you will see within a year or two, you will far surpass most people. And I tell a lot of people this in the health and wellness industry. Like, we have a lot of new trainers that kind of come up. They're young, they're green, their eyes are wide, they're excited about their career. And one of the first things I always tell them, like, this field is brutally field. There's no education going on in this field. Read a book. Always read a book. Always find a book, put it down, apply it. Find a book, read it, apply it, and you will set yourself way ahead of the game. Napoleon Hill actually came up with a quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. He's like, studying in your field 1 hour a day for 3 years, you'll be at the top of your field after 1 year. I just butchered the shit out of that quote. But in 5 years, you'll be a natural authority. And in 7 years, starting 1 hour, you'll be one of the best people in the world at what you do. And I tell people, like, how long do you plan on being in this industry? Oh, I want to be in it for a long time. I want to be for the rest of my life. So 1 hour a day, and within 10 years, 7 years, you'll be one of the best people in the world at what you do.
Yep, we'll be coming to see you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep. Otherwise, you're just gonna be left in the noise with all the rest of the people regurgitating shit that they learned in their formal education. And while things are changing, time's passing them by, you're becoming more intelligent, you're becoming more in tune, you're becoming smarter, and these people are just being left behind. So take responsibility. You're going to see, like, you're planting trees. You don't see put a couple seeds in. You don't see the root right now. You don't see anything.
Nah, bro. Nah, dude, this so crazy, man. Because that analogy of the tree, I was thinking about this. I got this. I think it's called Appalachian poly plant. It looks like dinosaur leaves, right? And I'm sitting here watering this plant. I've had it for like going on probably 3 months now. And I'm like, I see all the other plants growing. I'm like, damn, man, what the fuck? Then next thing you know, I'm looking at the poly plant. I'm like, oh shit, like this leaf is like all curled up. And now it's just like opening up. It just took a while for it to come through, man. So I appreciate what you say. The one thing I'm going to leave people with is take off your blinders to what education looks like. Specifically speaking, with all the developments now, like before, a book is like, like this is one of the things I'm like studying, Taming the Tiger. Like this is what it is, right? Like I can touch this book, like I can read it. But the other great thing about this is that now we have audiobooks. So for example, Dr. Joe Dispenza, bruh, like I got the B hooked me up with the actual book. So I'm reading that book, but then I'm listening to it on audiobook. And but I can go back and these chapters 4 and 5, like I think I've had these on repeat for the past 3 days, right, about the chakras. So, and it's an opportunity for me to go back here. It's another sense that I can start to pull this in. Also, like you have your tablets now, so you can look at ebooks. There's videos. A lot of times when I'm driving to work, man, I'm listening to Earl Nightingale or Les Brown or something that I'm learning about, right? So before it was again sound, and I was looking up stuff about energetics and monadic fields, and I'm like, hey man, let me listening. You know what I mean? Like, and these people, like, do I take everything? Nope. And I find what works for me, and then I start integrating it, and then it brings me somewhere else. So take your blinders off to what it looks like, because your educational path could be completely different than anyone else's on the planet. So be open to what is available to you and what you're aligned to.
Amen,
That's
man.
what I got.
Love it.
Preaching on a Sunday. Lord have mercy. Can I get a hallelujah? So man, listen. So people, like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. What did he say? Like, share, subscribe. Okay. Listen, because this, and I think this is important, because if you have someone in your life that is stuck, that is bored, that is seeking, send them this video. Send them this video. Stop playing. You got this far. You know the gems that we talked about, because you're most likely going to rewind to some of the stuff either Brian said or I said. Share this with somebody.
Yeah, or if you have somebody that you know, or it's yourself, that are like, you don't think you're smart enough, or you don't think you're good enough, and you're basing that I guess knowledge on your formal education background. I've been there. It's bullshit. You're plenty. You just haven't found anything that sparks yourself, that sparks your interest. Learn, like, man, whatever it is, like, do something. Send this video, and if they have any questions, put in the comments, and Paul and I, we always respond to all the comments, and
man,
we'll do our best to put you on the right path.
Yep. We've been loving the comments.
Loving it, man.
Dude, you said one last thing. You said something, and I failed to bring this up. Brother, thank you so much for saying that. Don't let anybody freaking tell you you're freaking dumb or stupid because you don't fit into somebody else's education system. They're full of shit.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody freaking tell you that. I get fired up with that, because people will try to tell you you're dumb, you don't know this because you failed to follow their education system, and they're full of shit.
Yeah.
You're wise, you're intelligent. Just find your path and you'll see what we're talking about.
Amen.
Thank you for bringing that up again, man. Bless up, everybody. Sorry, I got a little heated right there. It just means it means something to me. Get some water and shit. Like, anyway, listen, people. Peace. We're out of here until next week.
All right.